Hello, Chris. This is Dimitris calling from Metalkaoz and Chicago. How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great right now since we will be talking about a very nice guy, a very great guitarist, and a very nice guy.
Well, thank you. That's very, very kind to hear that. I enjoy what I do. I'm blessed to have the job and the career I have, and I never take that for granted. So I always try to be as nice as I possibly can. I mean, life has its twists and turns, but it's
Mhm.
always important to act upon others as you would expect to have happen to yourself. So.
And as I was born in Greece, and I know that you are have a, let's say, a friendly affiliation with Greece. So I will enjoy this discussion an extra bit more, right?
Well, it's awesome too because we're going to be 20 years since I had well, it was a little bit over 20 years, but it was 20 years of recording music. And the main reason why I had dove into a solo career was because of the Greek record label Black Lotus.
Correct.
I think it was the end of 2003, towards like October, before we were out with TSO. I got flown out to Athens to speak to the guys that were starting that label, and they listened to my demos and they listened to the song Abandon they really liked a lot, and they gave me a very kind record deal. And me, I was so excited because I'd written so much music. Instead of doing one record and buying myself a car, I recorded 30 songs and spent all the money in the studio. So it was like it was one of these things where, yeah, I was just so excited at that point in time. And now, like I said, it was 20 years of music that is put together coming out on this new record. And the beginning of that was something that all came about out in Athens.
So, does it feel a long time when you put it on paper, writing 20 years?
Nah, it's crazy. It doesn't really, especially when, we were just down in South America doing some Sabotage shows. It was the first piece of touring Sabotage had done in 23 years.
Yeah.
And when I stepped on stage with Johnny, it did not seem that long. Now, I know we've played together with TSO, and we've been in the same rehearsal buildings, even if we're not on the same tour every year, but it was just something about it. You blink your eyes and time flies. It was 2015 that we did Vakken with Savatage, and it's 10 years since then. A decade just goes by like that. It's
Yeah.
5 years since the COVID stuff, and everything just seems like it's rushing by a lot faster than than ever. And I'm actually in the process of making a timeline. I've had a really crazy year this year. It's been extremely good, but it's been extremely stressful because I had some pretty some pretty serious health issues happen with my mother, which I wasn't really telling anybody about while she was, in the hospital or anything. But she was, away from home for 5 months, and in the midst of that, I was, rehearsing for Sabotage and trying to get things together, and I got things together for this 20 years of the Music Man as good as possible. When I got my copy of the records, I'm like, I had missed the actual to notice that the credits for the recording of the songs in the studios were not in the record, and I think it was just a matter of miscommunication between me and Friedrich, who was doing the album art and everything. So what I'm in the process of doing now is making a timeline, and I'm going to get it printed and have them put into the CDs that I'm selling at home, the CDs and records, LPs that I'm selling at my house. I'm going to include that as a little bonus. And I'm excited for it because it's going to have, the whole mop of photos that are going to make a collage from those sessions. And it's going to be a pretty neat little extra thing that I'm going to add in later. But like I said, I was so um, overwhelmed by the situation with my mom because other than, the day I was born, I think there was one day in my whole entire life that I'd taken her to anywhere other than a normal doctor. So when you have somebody that close to you that's spending months in hospitals, it brings you to a whole different, level
Yeah, yeah.
of life that you hadn't experienced before. And I think that's where, stuff like my record here and the sabotage thing are very important as always, but at times like these, it was really able to create a balance for me that I needed to miss that because it was like, the positive side of sabotage coming back to play was helping balance out the daily, you know, emotions and stress that I had in the situation with my mom.
Is she okay now?
She's out of the facilities that she was in. I don't really want to go into too many
No,
details,
no,
but
no, no need.
she's a heck of a lot better than she was in say February, March. So I did a lot of prayers and some people had asked about my dedication on this record being to Paul and my mom and I
Right.
planned on dedicating things to Paul. The addition of my mom really to that dedication was coming at that specific time because the condition was so serious that I was just trying to channel some
Okay.
uh, some angels from places, and I just put it there, and luckily everything wound up going better than it could have with that. So
Okay. I wish her the best, and that's all. That's about it.
thank
Um.
you.
So, how much would you say Chris has changed in 20 years as a guitarist or as a musician?
Um, I think that my playing has gotten to be a more seasoned version of myself.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a more solid player. I think my rhythm playing has always been good, but I think I'm a little bit more conscious of beats and just really how tight things are played. I think I play a little bit more, you know, I wouldn't say the word is professional. I just play a little bit more relaxed and a little bit more mature, I think now. And I still have the aggressiveness in my playing, which is something that has always been one of my identities, I think, in my lead and rhythm playing. But I just think it's a little bit more, there's a little bit more of the 40 years of guitar playing that I've had that comes out while I'm playing. I think I'm enjoying playing. I think my lead playing is starting to rise up to the level of a lot of my peers, people I was inspired by. I never really thought about that too much, but I listen to what I play and I know what I'm playing to and I know what I have to play and I can tell if I was just kind of going through the motions and sort of playing their stuff, and now I know that I can play a lot of things pretty similar to the way it was recorded, and that makes me feel good because I want to always honor the people that taught me what to do as good as I can. So I just think that after all these years, I've gotten to be a pretty mature and pretty solid player, And with that, I think the way I write's different. I think that Paul O'Neill really influenced the way I write lyrics. I concentrate more on them now. I try to write things in some of the frame of minds he used, where you literally sometimes can affect people's lives by what you say. And I also made a lot of my music easier to play and sing than I did 20 years ago because I was writing riffs and recording them, and then I was putting lyrics and melodies over them, and I never played them live. And then I went to go do my live shows, and I'm like, you idiot. Because it was like, rub your head and it was just not the easiest thing. And I'm not Geddy Lee, but, he's there playing with his feet and the bass and singing, and he's got a hand on a keyboard. Me, it was just like, all right, let me do freaking Detroit Rock City, it's like the feel uptight on Saturday night. It's a freaking chord, he's not doing a riff in there. It was a reason why he was able to perform with his arm in the air. I've got things like, you know, fade into the X and there's just riffs and things that were all over the neck, and I'm going, what was I thinking?
So that's an interesting thing you say. Faces was supposed to be, no, what was the motivation for Faces? Or maybe I should ask, was that you wrote that music for maybe for Sabotage, or you wrote the music just for your solo album?
Well, it all depends which songs, because Abandon was a song I wrote for Savatage.
Right. And thank you for that. I will interrupt you right now because there you kind of sound like John Oliver.
Yeah, well, I mean, I learned a lot from John, and if when we used to play live with Savatage, I used to sing Power of the Night, and it was always kind of funny how I was able to, he would call me like mini me, and I would get figure his rasp out and stuff like that. But my raspy side of my voice is very influenced by John, and there's a lot of my timbre that's the same as him. I'm not exactly sure who the clean side of my vocal sounds like. Really, that one is I haven't really heard anybody line that up with anyone in particular, so maybe I just sound like myself on that. But I know that the more raspy side of my voice, that I definitely get a lot of Oliva-esque kind of tones and stuff. And then, a lot of those songs on the record about war, I mean, it was definitely a conscious thing of being a little bit more metal with that. Even the song, it's called Beat Me, You'll Never Beat Me, that song about planet Earth, that riff and the verse of that was one of the first Dr. Butcher songs we ever had, and that melody in that verse was John's, and I credited him on the record for that thing, and I was just trying to channel my inner Oliva.
Amazing. So you said some of the songs, maybe the longest ones, were supposed to be for Sabotage, right?
Yeah, well, they were ones that I had put aside. I mean, I had things like, if you listen to the first Circle to Circle record, the songs that Zaki recorded that I wrote were songs I had specifically wrote with singing like his in mind for Sabotage, too. So there was different kinds of songs I had written for Sabotage and different instrumental sort of things. My version of What Child Is This is something that I submitted to Paul to, seeing if he'd be interested to use it for TSO, and he really liked it, but he was okay with me releasing it until, maybe he was willing to rearrange it or work with it at another time. But at that particular point in time, he already went through the Christmas trilogy, so he wasn't looking for material like that at that point. He was doing, the Night Castle record and things in that flavor. So he really liked the arrangement, but it all depends on what particular songs they were. It was funny, there was a point in time when I had spoken to Joey from Manowar about the possibility of maybe personally managing me, and he brought me into his office, and he sat me down and he gave me a bunch of discs of a lot of different European metal bands and some things he wanted to listen to when I went to write, and that influenced some of my writing. I think the song Faces was one that I had, the up kind of heavy metal verses, a few songs in particular that were influenced by some of the advice that I was given by Joey. We never wound up working together like that, but I enjoyed the time that I spent with him, and I enjoyed the knowledge that he'd given me. He's very, very smart, and he knows metal. So it's like it definitely helped me, take apart what I was writing and come up with some really cool ideas and put some energy into some of the extra stuff I was writing. So there was, influences coming from all over the place. Then I'd written like 70 songs, like I said, I recorded 30. some of the other ones got used on my solo records as it went down the road, and then there was things like, Last Time and I Miss You Sometimes that weren't released at all yet, and that stuff is still around. And I still have more of the music that I'd written in that period of time that nobody's heard yet. But like on my Justice Court record, The Feeling of a White Lie and the Watch song, those two songs in particular, I went back and found an old disc of some of the demo stuff from then. I'm like, wow, these two songs are really cool. So I would just bring them and re-bring them into the records if I thought they were something that was gonna fit.
So, first of all, I have to comment on this. As you were talking, you were mentioning musicians. You have worked with some amazing musicians. We have seen you live with Doro, with TSO, with SAVATAGE. I mean, I don't know. I don't have a question, but I wanted just to comment on that. I mean, amazing. I don't know how how you have you realized. I mean, I don't know, man.
Yeah, I'm like I said when we started this, I'm blessed with my life and my career, and I had the opportunities to not only play with Savatage and tour with the bands like Dio and Judas Priest and Megadeth and a lot of my peers, but I also had a chance to work with so many great people in TSO, and we had so many amazing special guests with TSO.
Right.
Like Paul would have come play with us. I played on stage with Roger Daltrey and with Steven Tyler and Ian Anderson and Ian Hunter and John Anderson from Yes, not Ian Anderson. We never actually did anything with Ian Anderson. It was John Anderson and Ian Hunter and Joe Walsh and Leslie West, and God, there's just so many people that I had a chance to share the stage with then. And then, just in my heavy metal career, through doing things like Dr. Butcher with John and the Metallium record and working with somebody like Mike Tirana, who I think is one of the greatest drummers on the planet. And then, I have opportunity to work with Brian Tishy too. And even with my new single where I have Jeff Scott Soto and
Right.
Derek Sherinian's playing on the Do You See What I See Now song. So there's just some really awesome musicians. I got a chance to play with Metal Church. I
Yes.
played on and off for 20 years with Doro. I toured with Ripper, and we opened for the last Heaven and Hell tour with Ronnie Dio on that. So it's just I've had a lot of really great opportunities. Like I said, I always feel really blessed by that.
Yeah, but let's make it clear. Please clear that up for me. The new record, the 20 years, it's not like you are closing a chapter, right?
No, no, not at all. See,
Perfect.
what I like to do with this was people have to understand when Savatage stopped playing, we never broke up. We just stopped. And for me, like I said, there was a huge part of my life that was missing, and I filled it with my music. I never joined another band. I had a chance to do Spirits of Fire and some other things, but I never joined another band. I was in TSO, I had my solo thing, but my band was Savatage. Not my band, but when you consider yourself in a band, what band are you in? I would say Savatage first before everything. And it that chapter was spent a lot of time with me, like the fans waiting. And when the tour dates came to us last year, and I was trying to figure out a way to release this single, the Do You See What I See Now single. Originally, I wanted to maybe do the 20th anniversary of the release of the record I had about war and put out the original title, which was Goddamn War, and have that song on that, because that would have been truly 20 years from the release date of 2005 till now. But my label didn't necessarily want to do a double record, and they were trying to ask me how I could make release that song with some unreleased tracks, maybe record some new tracks. And I just had so much that I knew was coming up with Savatage. I didn't know how busy my schedule was going to be. I didn't want to chance that I could get some music done when TSO got off the road, and I was smart that I didn't because I had the situation with my mom come up. I never would have been able to have even focused on doing any new music, never mind getting it done. So, when I started trying to piece together one record, I just didn't like the way it felt. So I came up with the idea of piecing together a bunch of things, and it wound up getting to two records anyway. And then that's when I thought of, the 20 years of the Music Man, because the first record I started recording that in the studio in 2004, and I finished the last song in the studio in 2024. And so those 20 years, those songs were all recorded. And as Sabotage kicks off into, its next chapter right now, I'm just closing, that chapter of me that was just waiting for my brothers and me to get back together again and get on stage. I mean, I'm not shutting down me playing my own music. And I think if anything, it's going to help me write more,
Right.
because there was some gaps in between when I was doing records just because of a lot of different reasons. You missed the ability to tour the way you were in the past, and as the business got different and things got more expensive and stuff like that, it was too draining all the way around, and my solo record was not something that I promoted, I think, to a level where I was making it uh, a money making situation for me. It was more or less one that I was doing for fun, but when it became so much work and so stressful, because I was doing everything, the managing, the booking,
Yes.
and the merchandise and this and that, it got a little overwhelming. So I just went back to recording the music, and then, as time flew by, I just paced it, like I said, to where I was just doing some singles here and there, and I I did fill gaps with complete records that weren't mine. I mean, it was two Spirits of Fire records and music that I wrote for other people, and it was a lot of music that I did over that 20-year period between my records and other records. There's probably 15 albums worth of material that I had released in that point in time. But now it's just kind of, I wanted to have a vinyl, and I wanted to be able to have something that the new fans that may come in contact with me, and that's in every part of the world. If it's somebody that just stumbles onto me through the internet, but it could be somebody that goes to TSO shows. There's always, basically almost half the audience every year is somebody that's never seen us before. So there's a lot of new faces there, and there's old Sabotage fans, but there's a lot of new ones. So I'm like, all right, well, this music may be some of it 20 years old, but there's a lot of it I think that people would really enjoy if they heard it. So I think it's a good way to piece it all together and give everybody a nice little version of what I was like musically on my own.
Why did you pick the radio edit of Pisses Me Off? Because the censorship is pissing me off.
Well, was the censorship on the vinyl? Is it there? Does
I
it?
haven't gotten the vinyl, I have the promo. So it's the radio edit. So I'm guessing, they have censored some of the
Did
bad.
you listen? Did you listen to it?
Yes.
And it does shut the squares off?
Hmm.
Ah, I can't exactly answer 1,000,000% why that radio. It was supposed to be the
The album version,
shortened
right?
version without the intro.
I'm talking about some of the lyrics are being cut off,
Or have they 100% been cut off? Because I don't think I've even listened to it yet. I think that there was the because the original edit was just to cut the music beginning off of it. It wasn't editing the swears.
That's what I have in the promo. So I hope it's not on the final edit.
It probably is then. There's another thing that I didn't notice amongst all of that.
Oh, I'm sorry, man.
I need, no, I need to speak to them about that because I kind of wanted at that point to have the. I gotta see where that is because there's a Pisses Me Off that was on the Music Man EP that's just edited down. I didn't know it had the swears off. That's funny because I have not actually had a chance to listen to the record yet, and I didn't realize that that cut the swears off. But in some ways that might be good because it is a usable version for some places. I just got to make sure that the edited version is somehow brought out and about by my label right now because that's interesting that you said that. It's funny
Well,
that I'm finding out things I don't know all the time. See, now back to exactly how busy I was when this was all done. It's like I thought it was just the version of it that had the
yeah,
long,
the
the music.
shortened one, the shorter version. Yeah, I understand. Well, I thought, to be
Is
honest,
the short, is the music cut off the beginning, or is it there?
no, I'm not sure. I haven't compared the two versions, to be honest. I need to double check. So
Okay, well, I need to listen to that later. Thanks.
honestly, I thought you did it on purpose because the song is pisses me off, and you wanted to piss us off. Maybe. No, I'm joking. I'm joking.
No, I mean, like I said, that's
That's
totally. I
that's
just thought
okay.
I was putting in the shorter version of it that was on
Hmm.
my
I
Music
think yeah,
Man EP. I
could
didn't
be. Yeah,
realize it was the actual edit that silenced the swears. I needed two versions of that at the time
of
because
course.
it was getting a ton of radio play on regular stations, and there needed to be one that silenced the swears, but I didn't understand exactly which version
Yeah.
of that went on there. I thought it was because when you listen to, if you look at Spotify, that version that's on the Music Man EP is shorter and it gets tons of plays, and that's doesn't have the swears cut out. So, all right, well,
Anyhow,
that's I need to look into that anyway. I'll figure that out as it goes, and I'll just make sure people are able to connect to the one that's the other. That's like I said, I learn something new every day. But like once I get back to like I was saying before, I was so completely swamped with things in my personal life when this is being done that I never listened back to the masters of this, other than just like kind of going, okay, that sounds good, and just okaying the overall mastering. But I never listened back to that full version of the song to see that it was edited.
however, this particular song, the lyrics of this particular song, after 20 years, are still relevant. We
Yeah,
haven't
which is why
gotten any better.
I didn't rewrite it. People were asking if I could, and I thought that if I tried, I would have found things that would have been too controversial because nowadays people get so mad when you say something. I think the things that are in there are safe the way they are, and at the time there wasn't a lot of internet yet. People were
Yeah.
just really kind of getting started, and I think I got my first cell phone in like 99, 2000, and the whole cell phone phenomena really didn't start to take over for a few years after that. So it wasn't like people would establish their own identities as much online where they
Mm.
like to cause as much drama as they do. So I um I don't think it would have been the same as doing it back then because when I did it then everybody just laughed at it and took it for tongue in cheek for what it was. It was what it was supposed to be. It was tongue in cheek. So
But really, those really lyrics are relevant today. So there is no need to change anything. Maybe the price, the coffee price that you mentioned. um, then she's gone. You have the metronome. We can hear the metronome in the beginning. This sounds like a very personal and at the same time sad song.
Yeah, that song was just me in the middle of the night one night in my studio, and the in life you have relationships that come and go, and sometimes you're the reason why they go, sometimes somebody else is the reason why they go, sometimes you both are. I think I was in the middle of friendship and a relationship that had kind of disappeared
Oh,
at that point in time, and I was it was a point in time where I was really kind of feeling by myself, and I just wrote this song partially blaming myself and partially just kind of blaming the lack of knowledge I had in the other situation that fell apart. But it was very personal. It was just done, like I said, me in the middle of the night, and I did it along with the woodblock kind of metronome. And when I was trying to think of a way to mix the song, I just threw reverb on it, and I thought it worked. I thought it just created a really cool sound, like it was a clock. And it's funny because when I did the video, Wayne Joyner just went with that, and the timepiece that's on the cover, and he really created a video that uses that little ticking going on as the beat of that song, which kind of can represent your heart as well, because there's really no other timepiece in that song other than that. So it yeah, it is a very personal thing. Like I said, I think this song all around has gotten the most overall positive reaction than any song I've ever done, which
Interesting.
is crazy because it's like all different people, male, female, old, young. It seems like everybody listens to it and gets it, and that's kind of, I think they hear that personal connection. I've, read some people's comments where they say that reminds me of the one that got away, and it's kind of the way it was written, that and with that in it.
Yeah. So how does it feel revisiting all the older material? Is it like watching old photographs? Does it bring good and bad memories? How does it feel?
Um, well, first of all, like we said earlier, it doesn't feel like it's really been that long of
Of
time.
course.
Some of it, like a song like Edge of Darkness, it's just fun. I picked that one in particular because it was always one of my most favorite songs to play live too. It's just a really fun heavy metal song, and songs like Your Heaven Is Real. I wrote that song about a situation I had with an anaphylactic seizure where I almost
Oh man.
died from. I actually, my pulse had stopped. I wasn't breathing from an allergic reaction to eating mussels, which I didn't even know I was allergic to them. And that song's got there's a lot of deep meaning in some of these things. In Music Man in particular, that song, I always wanted to sing when I was a kid, but I never thought I could sing good enough to be a lead singer because, when I was growing up, you had Coverdale and Dickinson and Halford and Steve Perry and all these singers that were just so amazing. So when you were putting a band together, you were trying to find people with that range, and I had an okay voice, but I still hadn't really matured my vocal cords yet. So it sounded kind of small and tiny. And, my brother and the people in my band are like, nah, you can, your Mickey Mouse voice isn't what we want in the band. So I would sit in rooms with the lights off or the doors locked and sing to myself to Foreigner records and Blue Murder records and things like that. I just like singing a lot. And when I started doing my own demos through my Pro Tools when I got it, I liked the way I sounded. And when I finished the song Music Man and I layered all those harmonies, I actually brought myself to tears because it was like this thing I wanted to do since I was a little kid, I did for the very first time. And that was create a song with vocals that I listened to and I enjoyed, like the music that I listened to when I was a little kid. I made something that I enjoyed listening to that had me singing,
That's
in
amazing.
that way. And I was like, it made me feel really good. And I get that now. I actually really like singing. I have a lot of fun singing. I like making the songs. I like doing the work. The guitar work on a record sometimes could be very tedious because you have to make the track, double the track. A lot of times I quadruple the tracks, and then you get in there and you're editing them and try to make everything perfect and line it up with the drums and this and that. It becomes more like mechanical.
Mm.
Doing the lead vocals to me is a little more fun. You get in there, you put the headphones on and you go and you have some fun. And with Pro Tools, it doesn't have to be perfect every time. And I just listen back and pick the words I like and piece them together into a track, and it's always a lot of fun. I enjoy singing.
So basically, you're saying a singer's job is easier.
Yeah. I don't know if it's necessarily the job. A lot of times they do get special treatment being the singer because they're
Of
in the front of
course.
the band. But I think it's not easy to keep that live for a long period of time. You know, on the road, you really have to take care of yourself.
Mm.
So I think sometimes their job can be a little bit more controlled because you have to your instrument's here. So if you lose it, you know, it gets people are critical to you straight away. So I don't know if that's easier. I just think that it may be more fun
Yeah.
being the lead singer.
But hey, you have a unique voice, and it doesn't need to be close to another great musician. As long as you carry your own voice, that's all that matters to me. I can
Yeah, and
hear and
I
say,
like
"This is Chris," right?
I like that I use my voice like a guitar where, you know, there's distorted guitars and acoustic guitars and my voice kind of does that same thing in my songs. I use it in so many different ways and you know, I find myself more and more as how I like singing and you know, I'll throw covers online every once in a while of singers that I liked a lot, you know. And even when I did Ronnie Romero had a cover of The Shining for his one of his heavy metal cover records. And I remember I had the original demo that Ray Gillen had sang, and I sang myself doing that song, and I think it's on my Instagram page with, you know, a little bit more like how Ray sang it than Tony Martin. And, you know, people would listen to that and commented and said that they thought it sounded great, and that made me feel really cool because Ray's one of the, you know, was one of the greatest singers who ever lived. And I saw Red by Warrant because I think Janie Lane was one of the most underrated singers and musicians of our time, of our generation. He was so talented and his voice was so great. I did a cover of that, and you know, even his daughter had told me how much she liked it. So I like to hear that a lot.
Uh, it's interesting that after so many years, uh, it's almost like not no. You still like to hear that people say that they liked your music and your voice. I mean, I would expect after all these years to have the confidence to know what you're doing. If I'm making sense right now, right?
Yeah, but you know, it's like anything. You don't run as fast as you did when you were 20.
Mm,
So, you always wonder. I think I'm a way better singer than I was 20 years ago, actually.
of course, yeah.
I have fun with that. When we go to do the Sabotage stuff now live, they really rely on me a lot for the background vocals. And Zachy's been so supportive of how, you know, I've been singing and how I lay behind him. It's kind of like his number two guy in a lot of situations to backing his vocal up, you know, like being the parts a lot of times I'll be doubling him. So when he leaves to do things, I'm back on the part that he was doing. And that, you know, there's a lot of confidence in him on how I could sing. And that always makes me feel really good because he's such a great singer too.
Oh yeah. So you mentioned a lot of times Sabotage. So what's the plan right now? Are there any plans to play in North America, for example?
Yeah, we're back playing. So I haven't seen dates yet, but if you speak, you know, I'm just speaking from what I've heard everybody else say. So it's not Chris Caffery says it's, you know, we plan on playing a lot. You know, we're back up and running and we want to play. We want to go around the world and see people and go to places and play our music. I don't know the exact dates, the exact schedules right now. I'm just going day by day and getting prepared in 2 weeks to leave for Europe for the next run of dates. The first time we've toured Europe with Savatage in over 20 years, and it's going to be a lot of fun. And then, you know, next year we expect there to be some more shows, and as like John had said, you know, we're planning on finishing a recording of some new music and letting people hear that. And like when I know, everybody else will know, and a lot of times you guys know before I do. You know, the internet always seems to know everything before I do anyway. So I can ask you that. When am I putting out the next Sabotage record? Because I don't know. Tell me.
What I want or what I know, because I don't know what I
Yeah,
want.
exactly. So I'm just guessing, but it's we're excited, and like I'd said before, it's just day by day now, and I know exactly what's happening in the next few weeks, and I'm excited by that, and that's what I'm focusing on at the moment. And when there's the next step and the next news, I will be sure to spread it as soon as Sabotage does.
Absolutely. And just to make sure I heard correctly, you have right. John is writing new music, and you have some new stuff, right?
Yeah, well, we've been writing for a long time. I mean, he's got albums worth of material. We have stuff we could use. We just haven't really, as we get more, we're kind of whittle it down. And some stuff is really, really strong. So we just need to figure it out. There's stuff I've written with him. There's stuff he's written on his own. There's stuff that he's written with Al. There's just a lot of different material around. There's songs that, he's finishing melodies with Zachy with and other things because the plan's going to be to have them both sing
Ooh,
the record's done. So it should be really good. I'm confident in John, and I'm confident in the teaching we've had as musicians and writers and producers from Paul to channel into him and make sure that we do something that makes him proud. I mean, we want to, when something comes out with Sabotage, more than anything, we want to make the fans happy, but we also want to make sure that we make Paul happy and make his family happy and keep that legacy alive and not let anybody down. So, we're putting pressure on ourselves to make sure that the record's really good.
I have a couple of more, and I will let you go. So, any this the new your new record, this compilation, will it see any live action? Are you plan to play live any of this material?
I really want to play. I have to see exactly what my schedule is with Sabotage. I mean, this year, if I do anything, I kind of want to assemble a band of local musicians around me that I could go and start to just rehearse this stuff so I can get back into form of me playing and singing. So maybe I'll start by doing some, acoustic things or even play a few songs with some of my friends' bands. I do some cover stuff with some friends for fun sometimes. So maybe I might start having some of those songs added into the sets and just brush the dust off it because as I travel the world more with Sabotage, if there becomes breaks in our schedule and opportunities come up for me to go some places here and there for some acoustic shows or something, I think I'd have a lot of fun doing that. So I think the future's going to be a lot of fun. I just always, like I said, enjoy what I'm doing, and right now I'm pretty much going day by day. I know we have TSO dates at the end of the year. I got Sabotage dates in less than a month, and I'm just looking forward to both of them and whatever comes next.
Last question. How's your pinball collection going?
It's going good. I have not played nearly as much as I'd like to in the midst of the situation with my mom.
Mhm.
Plus, my dog is older, and my pinball and my studio's downstairs in my basement, and I can't go anywhere without him following me. So I'm trying to be kinder on his legs so I don't run down there as much as I used to, just to turn the game on and play. Because I'm really trying to, as he gets older, I don't want to beat on his leg joints. So we go down there a couple times a day. It's not as much as I had, and I'm really jonesing to get a new machine. I'd love to because I only have enough space because I have 10 machines, but that's the only space I have, and I'd love to get another machine, but I can't put it anywhere without it sitting in the middle of the room. So I kind of have to figure out which one of my babies I want to let go to college and then bring somebody else in. But because
Oh,
there's some great, games. There's a new version of the Stern Metallica that I really am interested in, and there's like the Jaws machine, and there's some other ones that are supposed to be coming out. But I'd love to get a brand new machine, but I need to make the space for it.
Do you know if we will see a Twilight Zone reissue?
That I do not know. A lot of the machines are coming out with the same version again, and I have not heard if that one's done or if it's out there. But every once in a while, you'll just turn around and you'll see ones come out. Like Cactus Canyon came out, and that reissue I think is better than the original. It's really good. Some of them are as good, and some of them kind of aren't. I don't think the Monster Bash is as good as the original. I think it looks good, but I don't think it plays as good. And the same with Medieval Madness. I think the reissue's cool, but I don't think it plays exactly the same as the other one. But some of the ones that are done again are done pretty well.
Well, you should write a blog about all this stuff. You know your pinball, man.
Yeah, I've played a lot of pinball. Dun, 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 dun.
Chris, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Safe travels. We missed Savatage, so please, I am in Chicago. Please stop
We
by.
will be back, and Chicago was always one of Savatage's homes in America. So I think if you put out like Texas, Florida, New York, and Chicago, I think are the four places that I always know that Savatage always had a really good feeling of being home when we went to those particular places. So I will see you, and I know we'll be around everywhere we can get to soon, and I'm looking forward to it.
Excellent. Send my love to the rest of the band, and
I
especially
will.
if you talk to John, please tell him that we love him and we want to see him back on stage as soon as possible.
I have faith in the Mountain King, so I didn't want to do this without him, and he told me to go play this. He goes, "Would you go play this fucking music?" So I did what John said, and I know more than anything, I think that it's inspiring him by us being out there, and I think that's a really positive thing. He wants to be there, and every time I see him, I think he's looking better and seems to be feeling better. So, like I said, I have a lot of faith in the Mountain King.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Best
Have a
of
good
luck.
day.
Bye bye.
Yes. Bye.